What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Zach and Pat Show. I'm Zach.
I'm Pat.
This is the show about manhood, fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and the mentality it takes to be successful at those things. And we'll probably sprinkle in some helpful real estate advice too, because that's what Pat and I do. You know, guys, life can be tough. We can go through some things and struggle at times, but this is the show to let you know that you're not alone. So if you're someone out there going through any of these things, this is the show for you.
All right, guys, let's talk about something we all need. High quality, comfortable, stylish clothing that actually holds up in real life. Whether you're grinding at work, hitting the gym, or just hanging out, the Normal brand has you covered. I've been rocking their gear, and let me tell you, it's not your average clothing line. They've nailed it perfect with the perfect blend of durability, comfort, style, whether it's a go-to rugged Henley, a hoodie, a button-down that doesn't make you feel like a stiff, the Normal brand is where it's at. The best part is you can support the show while upgrading your wardrobe. Just hit the link in the description below. Check out their collection. Trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. The Normal brand. Made for real life, built to last. Now go check them out.
Shout out to our friends over at Captain Beard Co. Guys, if you are looking for beard care products, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, give Captain Beard Co. a try. They have this unbelievable beard butter, balm, oils, and then it smells amazing. Ladies, if you're looking for something for your men as a gift to help with their grooming, check them out. Also, if you guys are looking to just set the mood one night, candles, unbelievably smelling candles, made with all natural ingredients here locally to St. Louis. Give them a shot. Also, while you're there, use the promo code Zach and Pat for 10% off your purchase.
Hey there, guys. I really appreciate you checking out the Zach and Pat Show. If you can obviously tell, we are a newer podcast, but one way we're really trying to grow the show is trying to get up the amount of subscribers we have. So, if you're watching the show and you're getting something out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you could click that subscribe button. That would help us out a ton. Please click that button. And now back to the show.
We have a very special guest in studio today. He is a principal attorney at the Estep Law Firm, the great and powerful Shawn Estep. Welcome.
Welcome to the land of Oz.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, for the people out there that don't know you, can you give us kind of a little brief summary of who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am, as you said, Shawn Estep. I'm principal attorney with the Estep Law Firm. We're an estate planning and elder law firm. We help families and individuals protect themselves and their loved ones personally and financially through custom trust-based planning. We kind of take an educational approach. We like to have conversations because I think people walk into our office sometimes and say, hey, can you give me a trust or a will? What they're asking for is a tool. What we're into is more of the planning side. So I like the, think about it this way. If you're going to buy a deck, if you're going to have somebody put a deck out there, you ask them about what kind of materials, what do you want to have, what's the color of the deck going to be, what are the balusters going to look like, how many people are going to be on it. You don't talk to the guy about the saws and the drills and the hammers he's going to use. You just want it to work. You want it to be capable of holding all the people and maybe, your hot tub.
Sure.
So my job is to ask you what color you want the deck to be, what color you want the balusters to be, how many people need to be supported by this deck. So if you think about it that way, it's really more a conversation about what do you want as a family or as an individual? Who do you want to benefit? Who are the people that are going to make decisions for you if you can't? So those are all things that as a counseling-based attorney, we do that's different than just coming in and buying a trust or a will or powers of attorney.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you started your career in engineering, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I did, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. So how, what kind of led you to the path that you're on now? So you were first went into engineering, just found it wasn't for you, or?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So when I started in engineering, it was kind of natural for me. My dad was an engineer, and he was really good at it. And I sort of had the chops for it, and I liked math, I liked physics, I liked engineering. So again, it was a natural path for me. So I went to Mizzou, got my engineering degree, started working at McDonnell Douglas in 1985. It's been a minute or two. And just really had a good time with it. It was fun. I was working on F-15s and F-18s, all the really fun, fast airplanes. And so you got to just play with really cool toys. But I knew that my dad had a tough time in engineering. He got laid off in '69, and his family basically blew up. My mom divorced him. We had to go back and forth from Las Vegas, where we had been living, to Jeff City during the summers. And I just didn't want that for my family. I wanted to make sure I had a good, stable opportunity if something happened in engineering. It didn't. Engineering was fine, but I got my law degree anyway. And what I found is that I really enjoyed the law. And when I found estate planning, I really found that was, for me, kind of a mix of being able to do something important for other families, help them with issues that they have, and also gave me an opportunity to be, I don't know, creative, because I could create something. It's not every trust is the same, right? You ask families about who they are and what they want, and you create something for them. So it gives me an opportunity to be creative. So that's why I've got drawn to the estate planning side. And also you kind of make your own hours. And again, it's a nice way to get to know people. It's what I like doing.
Sure. Yeah.
Was there any other part of law that interests you that you were considering?
You know, it's funny. When I started in law school, I took what we call federal income tax, and it's also called baby tax. I did really badly. You know, it's like I talked to the professor afterwards, and I said, "Why did I get a D-?" He said, "Because I've never given an F." I'm like, "Oh, so tax is not my thing, right?" Yeah. He said, "No, it's not." Okay. So a couple of years later, I don't think it's
many people's things.
It's not. And a couple of years later, I took corporate tax from the same professor, and I got like a B+ or something like that. And after the exam, I talked to the professor again. He said, "So you like tax now?" I said, "No, but this made sense to me. I understand it better. And I understand why it makes sense." The corporate tax side did. And once I got out of law school and started working as a part-time attorney and started in on the estate planning side, it became more clear to me that a lot of what we did was tax-based, whether it's a federal estate tax or whether it's income tax. So I needed to really get more tax background. So I actually went back and got what's called a Master of Laws in Tax from Washington University. That was a trip, but I really enjoyed it. And I started enjoying tax after that because it's just part of the, I guess, fun things that you can do to help people avoid tax, to manage tax, because it's all part of the management of risk. Which I was real familiar with, having been an engineer.
Right. No, that makes sense.
We manage risk.
Yeah. Well, so when I have a couple buddies that have gone through law school, gotten their law degree, and I've seen how taxing and how difficult that is. Were you going through law school while you were a full-time engineer?
Absolutely. Wow. And also, my son was born in my second year.
Wow.
So
how did you manage all that?
Well, after a while I got divorced. That was when I was getting my second degree. That tax degree. My wife at the time, my ex-wife, was just tired of it, and she wanted to raise my son in a different environment than the city. She wanted to raise him in a small town. So it was kind of a lot of different things all at one time.
I see.
A good question.
Oh yeah, it's just I'm just thinking. I saw one of my very good friends. He does like trust estate stuff as well, and actually Katie, Katie as well. Yeah, she so I kind of saw from far away what they were having to do, the amount of studying, studying for the bar, all the things, and I'm like, man, like doing that while being a full-time engineer and a new dad, and like, whoa.
Yeah, it's an interesting life balance. But I think, I was talking to someone a long time ago about business, and they said, you're going to find that there's a life balance. And that life balance is your physical, it's going to be your emotional, it's going to be spiritual, whatever that is to you and your family. So sometimes you're going to be out of balance in one area or another. So I was out of balance for family when I was in law school and starting my law firm. So some of that imbalance sort of led to the divorce after a while. So you recognize you have to be strong in all those areas.
Yeah. Well, I heard this concept recently, and it just keeps getting stuck in my head that, is in regards to the, people say work-life balance, all the, that kind of, that whole thing. But the saying is, there's no solutions, only trade-offs. And so it's like, if I'm gonna, be at the soccer game and be there for, every event for my kids and everything. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice. I can't go show houses right now, or I can't go be doing this I can't go train, or I can't go do these things. It's like, you're always kind of trading one thing for another. And it's
absolutely true.
It's just kind of how life is. There's no solutions, only trade-offs. And it's just a concept I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah. So that tracks completely with what that gentleman told me, again, long ago when I started working in business on my own. He said, you just have to figure out a way to balance it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have longer days than you're going to want. But if you're going to fit all of these things in, you're going to need to be physically fit at some point, because if you're not going to be emotionally ready. You're not going to be able to help your family, right?
Right.
So all these things need to be kind of aligned at some point.
Yeah.
And it's, as you have seen yourselves, it's really tough and can take a toll.
When you mentioned physically fit, what are some things that you do to stay physically fit and be mentally sharp?
Well, my friend John here at the club is kicking my rear end every Friday morning at 7:30.
Yeah.
And then I'm training for 5K in July and 2 marathons or half marathons in October. So
wow. 2 of them in October, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
The first one's really more of a training run, just to make sure I can get up and run 11 or 12 miles. And then the real one is Innsbruck.
Okay.
I like doing Innsbruck because it's hard. It's all hills, almost all hills, and it's a tough run, but it's always at the end of October. It's always just a beautiful day.
And how long have you been doing that for?
5 years, I think. This will be year 5. So it's been a blast. I did one full marathon.
Okay.
I needed to get one marathon under my belt.
Check that box for sure.
Check that box.
Yeah.
And when you train for a marathon, it's really about 3 times what you would for a half marathon, which I didn't realize.
Well, you think it'd be twice as much.
Twice as much, right? No, it's 3 times as much. And so I just did that one, but I chose one that was kind of, for me, kind of a homecoming. My family's from Montana, so I did the Whitefish, and it's kind of flat for the first half marathon. And then you go up in the mountains. So of course, I'm getting done with the first part, half marathon, and you get to this bridge just after the half marathon, and it crosses the train tracks, and you're going up in the mountains. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm pretty much done, but the next checkpoint's in 2 miles. I think I can, limp out 2 miles, and then I get to that next one, and it's like, I think I can limp out another 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I did that for every station along the way and got that thing done. I was third from last.
Hey, but
sorry, you did it.
I finished.
You did
it.
And that was what I needed to do. And at the finish line was a cousin I had not seen since I was 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It was the craziest thing. So I love that because I met family or saw family I hadn't seen in decades.
Wow.
And so that was a marathon I thought was both kind of family and physical and spiritual, because you got to have all that stuff together
To do
if
something
you're going
like
to get
that.
through that, because you suffer.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean,
that's what a marathon is. It's controlled suffering.
100%.
Trust me.
Yeah. I believe you.
I've always been curious, what does training look like? Obviously, you're not just going to go out and run super long distances on a daily basis. How do you train for a marathon?
So the training program I use, what it does is it starts you out at shorter distances. You start out half an hour, 45 minutes, and then there are going to be interval training where you train at higher speeds and then slow down, higher speeds and slow down. So you're doing things like you're training for foot speed, you're training for lactate level, so you can push your lactate level further so that your legs are going to last longer. And then obviously the long distance running to get your stamina. So there are a number of different things, hill training so that you get strength and you can get up those hills or mountains.
Yeah.
So it's just a combination of things in a certain order. And then what you'll do is you train up to a point, and then you rest. They'll give you like a week rest where you're not running, or if you're running really low load runs. And then you get back into higher runs, and you just build right back up to a longer run and more hill training, more lactate training, and trying to get your body again and your legs in shape for that half marathon or marathon.
Wow. Yeah, I've never done a marathon, never done a half marathon. I ran just for the hell of it one day. I did 75 hard a few times, and on the last day, one time I ran 10 miles, and I had not been like consistently running, and so I was like, it was my last day of 75 hard. I really wanted to like challenge myself, and I was like, I think Grants Trail, the whole Grants Trail is about 10 miles. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna. I called my wife that morning. I was like, hey, I'm gonna run the whole Grants Trail today. Can you drop me off and then pick me up at the end? And I hadn't, I didn't. I was like, you know what, I can do this. Even if I have to walk, I'm gonna finish the 10 miles. And I did it, but boy, was I sore for like a week after, man.
Yeah.
Like, just because I wasn't like I wasn't running a lot. The only running I was doing was like at CrossFit or like, I really just wasn't running a lot. But I, definitely not the smartest way to do that for sure. But I was hurting.
I mean,
I think having a good program for running is good for you.
100%.
I mean, I remember, I was towards the end of getting ready for my last half marathon, and I had my wife drop me off on the Katy Trail at Greens Bottom, and it's right around 13 miles from Greens Bottom to Defiance.
Okay.
And I said, just pick me up in Defiance in a couple hours. No big deal. Just go visit our grandkids, and so she did. And 2 hours and 45 minutes later, I had her pick me up. I actually stopped and had a burger at the motorcycle joint.
Yeah, there you go.
While she was still not there yet. But it's kind of fun, just hanging out there after that run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle's
I
winery
wasn't
used
totally
to be
destroyed.
right there. Yellow Farmhouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was an interesting place.
Yeah, that was my uncle's. Yeah, they sold that a couple of years ago. I was thinking about buying it, but
Yeah. No, good thing you didn't.
no, oh for sure. Right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, they cool place, fun atmosphere.
Yeah, it was.
Wine was. Sorry, Linda. Wine was shit. I
didn't say that.
I did.
I agree with you, but I didn't say it.
I will say though. So funny story about that. So when I got drafted, that's where we had my draft party.
Yeah.
And I think there was 10 of us there for it. I think we probably went through like 30 or 40 bottles of wine. We were hammered. Oh yeah.
That would do it.
Yeah. And you've been there. So like, it's got that gravel driveway downhill or we start at the bottom uphill to the pavilion. Well, we were sitting on the pavilion. They had a live band going, and to get down to the bathroom, it's like a halfway down this long gravel drive. And they've just got like outhouses over there, like nice outhouses. And so like I'm hammered and I'm wearing flip flops and it starts to rain.
Okay.
I know where this is going.
Starts to rain.
Nowhere good, right?
And my feet slip through the sandals and I just start barrel rolling down the gravel. The sandals are like halfway up my calves. I get up, I'm cut, I'm bleeding, all this stuff, and I got to report to the Reds the very next day.
Oh no.
For physicals and stuff. And I'm like, oh shit. So needless to say, when I showed up for physicals, I had like cuts and scrapes. My face was cut up. Oh yeah, it was.
You explained that you were sliding to second base.
Yeah, I just told them that. I told them it was a rough slide on the diamonds the day before. So, but no, it was that was a rough time. But no, I mean, those two biker bars right there. You got the one, like if you're looking at my uncle's winery, you got the one to the right and one to the left. It's both of those during the summer. Like we go there just to watch the people. Like we drink, we go over there, hang out at my uncle's winery, and just people watch. We'd bounce around we'd come down to the farmhouse at the bottom and watch the one biker bar, or we'd sit up at the top one and look down at the other biker bar, and it was fun times.
Well, I love going to these wineries because it is really all about the people watching.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Shawn, so at what point, you get your law degree and then you start working like immediately right after you get your law degree, what's the next?
What I did part-time. I did what was called threshold law.
Okay.
So whatever comes over the threshold, you do it. It's traffic tickets, it's a divorce, it's
okay.
a will or a trust or anything that you can get your hands on just to practice law and keep your license up.
Just get the reps.
Make something. Yeah, get the reps. That's really a good way to put it. And a couple of years in, a friend of mine decided he wanted me to buy his title company, which I thought would be a great idea. His mistake was asking me to come with him to see what he was going to do. So we went to Indianapolis to see what estate planning could be. And by the end of that, they teach you how to do the estate planning, how to run the business, and how to market it. So I took that estate planning in a box, told my friend Richard, I'm sorry, this is what I'm going to do too, and didn't look back.
Okay.
It was just a really great experience, and I've just had so much fun with it and so much growth personally and professionally with it. It's just been a blast. And the people I've met, especially my clients, it's just been incredibly rewarding.
Oh, sure.
And you were speaking earlier about learning life, like balancing everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like estate planning and sitting down with all these people and trying to help them map out the balance that they need for their estate plan has really helped you out along the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And also having other colleagues, estate planning attorneys that I can talk to and learn how they do their balance. How do they balance out the business side of it and the personal side of it and counseling their clients? Because you can be a very great technical attorney, a really good technical attorney, and not be able to have conversations with human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a difficult thing to learn that. So for me, the most important thing I learned in the last 30 years of practicing law is how to have conversations, how to really connect with people and counsel them. Because everybody will ask you, well, what do other people do? I don't know. You're not other people. You're someone else. You're someone different.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? What are the things you want to do? Because that's what we're here for. We're not here to tell you what other people have done. We're here to ask you what you want. What's important to you? Is charitable giving important to you? Are your children important to you? Is your spouse important to you? Do you have grandchildren? Those are all things that you ask. And do you want them protected? Is that important to you? Or do you want them to have full access to everything right away? And it's not up to me to decide. It's up to you. Here are the things you need to think about. Here's why you would want them protected. Okay? Because they still have access, even though they're protected. It's just the same as if they had it outright, except that if they get divorced or something bad happens, the money's still there for them. It doesn't end up in somebody else's pocket. I never thought about that. When I hear that, then I feel like I've done my job. If they've never heard that before, didn't know they could do that, then I've done my job. I've actually taught them something. And to me, that's a win.
Now, is there anything specific that's similar in all the estate planning that you do? I mean, obviously every client's different in what it is, but is there anything that you recommend for clients like that's just kind of generic across the board when it comes to estate planning?
Well, the tools are the same. What tools that the client needs may change. We may use a revocable living trust-based plan. We may have an irrevocable trust as part of that planning if we're doing.
What's the difference between the two of those?
Okay, that's good. Other than one's revocable and one's not
yeah.
revocable. Revocable trusts are basically the bread and butter of what we do as estate planners. It gives the client the ability to manage things during their lifetime. They can change it any time they want to, which is an amendment. They can revoke it if they want to, which is not a good idea because if they've had stuff put in the trust, what we call funding, and they revoke it without conversation with their attorney, things can get a little hairy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if they throw their trust away after somebody dies, that gets a little bit weird too.
Like physically, if they throw the paperwork
Physically
away?
throw it away. Yeah, it gets a little funky. I'm actually dealing with a case like that right now.
Oh my goodness.
So the revocable trust can be changed anytime you want to. It eventually, if we do the planning that's protective, it will eventually end up having irrevocable trusts created after the death of one or both trust makers. and you either have an irrevocable trust to protect the surviving spouse. On the second death, you have sub-trusts that are created for children or other beneficiaries. So the revocable trust is there just to make sure things are protected during lifetime. By protection, I mean you have control. So if something happens, they become incapacitated, someone else can manage it for them, a financial decision maker. Also in Missouri, we have this fun thing called the Qualified Spousal Trust. So we get to put property in this revocable trust and still get protection. So in my case, if I do something and one of my clients sues me because I have made a mistake and they lost tens of millions of dollars, it's not going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Hypothetical situation.
a hypothetical situation with my qualified spousal trust, that liability that I have as an attorney will not touch the things that are in my joint trust with my wife, Donna. Okay. Those will all be protected. So it's a revocable trust, but it still has asset protection benefits. One of the primary reasons we have irrevocable trusts, and let's talk about those, is the asset protection side. So if you have things that are put into trust for you as a third-party trust, or that you put into a first-party trust, they can be asset protected in an irrevocable trust. And there are two situations that I just want to breeze over real quickly. The first one is if you're a doctor, lawyer, or captain of industry, and you feel threatened or maybe threatened with assets being taken because of a liability or something, if you put that in an irrevocable asset protection trust, we can keep that out of the hands of people that shouldn't have it, other than your family, right? So that's the asset protection part. Then for older adults, just moms and dads, if they're going to need any sort of veterans benefits like aid and attendance because they need extra help at home or in assisted living, we can set aside some of their cash so that they can apply for Medicaid or veterans benefits within 3 years of the gift, and then Medicaid benefits within 5 years. That's an irrevocable trust. It's the same trust we use for, again, doctors, lawyers, and captains of industry to protect them. We just don't add as many zeros on the end of the fee, right? So we have to be careful with that. But again, our idea there is protect them. It's asset protection.
Okay.
There are some tax implications, things we have to deal with from a tax perspective, but we do that as part of the back end. We don't have to tell the client that that's happening. Okay, it's just what we do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Do you understand?
I'm following.
Revocable and irrevocable?
Yep.
Now, irrevocable doesn't mean irrevocable. It means that the person that created the trust can't revoke it or amend it. It means the beneficiaries can't revoke or amend it. It means the trustee cannot revoke or amend it.
It's set in stone.
Except that if you have a special independent trustee that's appointed by someone other than a trustee, beneficiary, or other person, trust maker, you can have that person make a change to the trust and amend it. Okay? It's called a trust protector. Also, if you want to, you can move good money from a bad trust into a good trust called decanting. So even though they can't be changed by, again, the people that create it or the people that are managing it or the people that are benefiting from it, does not mean we can't change it. It just means we have to go through a different process. So again, even though it's irrevocable by those three people, it doesn't mean it can't be changed. A court can help change it if it's necessary to make sure the trust is doing what the trust maker wanted it to. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. So at what point when you go and meet with your friend, he shows you estate planning, and then basically from there on, you go and start your own from there?
Yeah. And it just became really plain that was what I was needing to do. And it took me a little while to get to where I'm at today.
Sure, of course.
I was still working at Boeing through 2013, and it just seemed like, I was doing well enough as an attorney part-time that I could walk away from Boeing. And my boss at the time, when I told her, here's your 2 weeks notice, I'm leaving. She's like, okay, so you're giving up a paycheck every 2 weeks and healthcare for what? I said, for my own business to, not have a pink slip hanging over my head.
Yeah.
Boeing was losing people, they were They were managing their way out of people that I knew. So I thought I didn't want to be subject to that. And so I walked out.
I mean,
And it's 12 years ago.
It's a scary decision to jump, to go out on your own. I mean, I remember
But
when
I'd done
I
it
did
before.
Yeah, I guess
I'd done it before. So I had the experience of having left. And I knew what it was going to take.
Yeah.
And, it's been tough. There have been ups and downs, but it's been rewarding in ways that having a job just wasn't. It was amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, how does running your own business just compare to working for someone else?
I'm always working for somebody else,
Sure.
right? Your client. When I was working at Boeing, it was okay. That's great, but what's next? What can you do next? That wasn't quite good enough. You need to change something. Well, what do I change? Well, we'll talk about that. Whereas for me, having my own practice, I can see what needs to be done differently. I can see what needs to be changed because my clients tell me,
Yeah.
this is what we need from you. Or I'll see something that my colleagues are doing that's different, that works better. And I'm always open to change and making things better. And to me, that's just being a good attorney, a good counselor, is trying to find the best way to manage for my clients and do the best job we can.
That's awesome.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
you did, for
for
sure.
sure.
Definitely. So you have 7 grandkids.
7 grandkids.
How has becoming a grandfather changed your view of legacy and what really matters in life?
It's been strange because you just don't. It's just kind of, I don't know how to put it. It's a great question, and I'm not sure how to answer it because it's one of those things that just you live through. I got married. I have 3 bonus daughters plus my son, and then we started having grandkids, and it was just an amazing addition to who I was as a husband and a father, and now a grandfather. I had no idea what it meant.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that I loved my dad, and he was a great grandfather. My granddad was a great grandpa. Or both of them were. But me being a grandpa, I wasn't sure how that was going to work. I never thought about it. But when my first grandson came, Leo, it was just an amazing, oh my God, moment. This is so amazing to have this little person, and he's 11 this year. He's 11 at the end of this month.
Wow.
It just changed my view of the world and who I was, because now there's this other little person that, he gets dropped off once in a while, and we get to play with him, have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm not responsible, so I can
You're the fun grandpa.
have some candy.
Yeah. Go home to mom now.
Go home to mom. Go home to my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And it changed my relationship with my stepdaughter and all of my stepdaughters. And now my son has his.
Mm.
And it's amazing to see these young people become parents. And remember when I was a parent, what it was to raise a kid and work at the same time at 2 different jobs.
Yeah.
And have all those things happening. And I see my kids going through that and the struggles they go through and the wins that they have and seeing my grandkids at soccer games. And that's what our weekend is. A lot of times it's, we got soccer games at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then 1 o'clock, we've got a basketball game in South City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like you're busier now as a grandfather than you were as a dad,
Oh, my
maybe.
God. Oh, absolutely. I mean, 7 grandkids.
Yeah.
5 of them are in sports.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be
All over the place.
all over the place. St. Charles or Arnold or South City, whatever it is, and it's a blast.
Yeah. Oh man, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to getting my kids into sports. My kids are my oldest is 3, my youngest is about to turn 1,
Mhm.
and we've done the kickaroos and stuff up at Veta, but it's not
Yeah.
really like a very organized sport. But whenever in the next few years. It's going to be exciting to kind of see that. And then, I see what my wife's cousin, who she's very close with, is kind of like her big sister. They've got 3 kids, and all 3 play every sport, it seems. And it's like, that's their whole like week and weekend. It's like bouncing from one practice to the other one's game. And okay, we got to change in the car and go play basketball or whatever it is now. And it's like, wow, it's a lot going on there. So I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself for the next few years.
Yeah. So I guess I'm a soccer grandpa.
Yeah.
It's a blast though.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I saw Connor. It's kind of like going full circle because now Connor's playing on the baseball fields that I played on when I was little. So it's
that's
like,
nice.
yeah, it's pretty cool to see that. And just like, wow. Okay. This is cool.
How's he doing? Is he a chip off the old block or?
He's probably going to be better than I am.
Better?
Oh yeah. He's got more passion for the game than I had for it. I played it because it was something to do during the summer when I wasn't playing hockey, and I just happened to be good at it. And I continued to get better and better and better. And then, as I got into high school, I really started to fall in love with the game. But Connor, it's just instant for him. Like all he wants to do is go and hit. Like, Dad, hey, like he goes around and manipulates all the little kids in his neighborhood to throw to him. Like one kid will get tired of throwing, and be like, okay, well, it's fun playing with you. I'm gonna go inside, and then he'll like run inside and be like, oh, I want to go. And he goes and grabs another kid, like, hey, you want to come play baseball with me? You can pitch, and he gets like,
can pitch.
He bounces around to all the different kids in his neighborhood to get them all to pitch, and won't let them hit. Or I'm just like, okay.
Wow,
but he loves it. He's great at it, and he's got a passion for it. Where Ollie's good. Ollie's got the skill. Ollie's my youngest. I just don't think he just doesn't have the passion for it. Yeah, he's more of our. He's more artsy, more hands on. Like he likes to build stuff. Loves Legos, loves puzzles, loves Magnetiles, all that stuff. But is athletic, can play sports, but he's just not passionate about it like Connor is.
Also, Magnetiles is actually a thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My wife just bought some for my grandson who's turning 11.
They're awesome.
What's a Magnetile?
They're like little, like different shapes, like little rectangles, squares, triangles. But they've got little magnets all the way around them, and you can like stick them together and build things like
build like little houses and little, like we'll build. We do it for my 3-year-old. We'll like build something for him to. We'll build a garage for him to pull his cars in, and
nice.
Nice.
They're really
they're
cool.
fun. Yeah, it's like they're like these plastic, like you said, plastic tiles, and they just all stick together real easy, and they're fun.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, they don't hurt to step on, but you got to be careful because they are slick. I have feet out from underneath me on one of them.
Okay, I'll have to warn my daughter about that.
Yes, they are very slick. They don't hurt to step on like a Lego.
Oh man,
but you can
stepping on a Lego.
Yeah.
Oh, I still have marks from Legos.
But yeah. You can build things just like you can like building wise with like you can with Legos. So it's pretty cool.
Just a little simple, easier to destroy. You know, a little more fragile than Legos, I would say.
For sure, definitely more fragile.
Like Legos actually like stick together, whereas these are just magnets. So it's like it's easy for them to fall apart.
But kids, my boys love them. They just had them out the other day before I took them to school, and Oliver built this whole like castle thing. I'm like, did you just do that? It was like 30 minutes before we left for school. Okay, well, it's still sitting there. So when you get back, you can clean it up.
I'm guessing Grandma Dee Dee, after a while, is going to have some at the house so that our kids can come over and
for sure.
Yeah, no, they're pretty cool.
We have the grandkids over for usually once or twice during the year, all of them. Well, as many as we can get, and it's usually pretty cool. We have games, and they'll take all of the toys out and scatter them all over the house, down in the basement, and throw things and. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then they go home and we're like, oh, now we're going to clean
this up. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like, that's what it's like at my house. It's like, well, I'll clean it up. Me and my wife will clean up everything when they go to bed. And then, within 20 minutes of my 3-year-old being awake, it looks almost exactly like it did before we went to bed or, before we cleaned it up.
Here's the thing. The grandkids are getting old enough. They are really putting away a lot of stuff on their own.
That's good.
It's not as bad as it used to be, but I still step on things.
Oh yeah. We're working on
something. Yeah.
No, before we get that out, we need to put this away. And then it's like a whole thing, it's like, no, I don't want it. I'm like, hey, no, like it's yeah, it's been the challenge lately as putting our stuff away and cleaning up. But he's 3. So,
Wait, you were pointing at Pat. What happened?
I mean, cleaning's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, being a single parent now, like, I mean, that I've grown. It's not that I didn't like cleaning. It just, my ex-wife was really good at it and had a very peculiar way, I shouldn't say particular way she wanted things done. So if I were to do it, she would just redo it anyway because it wasn't her way. Well, now, I mean, I do it. It's my way.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I'm okay. Like, I'm busy. Like, if it's not clean every single day, that's okay. But it does get clean.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Well, is there a crazy or like emotional estate planning like case you had ever that that comes to mind that like was one that's like, whoa, this was a crazy one that like sticks out? Obviously, you don't have to say any names or anything, but is there like a particular one that sticks out to you, or it was like particularly difficult, or like a crazy situation, or
Yeah. I think a recent one probably is as good an example as any. Sometimes I'll get clients that call and say, hey, mom or dad is on hospice and we don't have long. Can you come in and do an estate plan? And, I'm kind of like the doctor that doesn't exist anymore. I'll actually do home calls.
okay, yeah,
And so I went to their house and we had our conversation about what they needed. They wanted to prepare mom and dad and have trusts and wills and all that paraphernalia. But at the bottom, once we had the conversation, they wanted to make sure that mom was protected, that the one daughter that was capable was going to be the decision maker for finance and healthcare. And they wanted to make sure that when dad died, he had between a week and 10 days, that at some point, if mom needed veterans benefits, which she would qualify as a spouse of a veteran, or if she needed Medicaid benefits for nursing home care or home care, that she would have the ability to apply for and qualify for those programs. So I created those 2 plans. They were done the next morning, and that's when he died.
wow,
And we had scheduled to have them sign their documents on Friday, and it was Tuesday when I got in front of them. So we came in Friday. I went in Friday and we executed all the documents just for her. And to me, it was kind of emotional because I'd met the guy and he was really a sweet guy. Just, one of those guys he's just a friend right away. You can talk to him and he's just having a great time. You think, let's get this done for him. And I really missed having him there that Friday. But the family they weren't crying or anything. They were still having good conversations. They were still laughing and just remembering dad. And just that, to me, that's the kind of planning. It's not that I like to do it, but I feel like I've done something valuable. I've done something to me that was meaningful.
yeah, it was needed.
Yeah. So those are the ones I think they're probably the most impactful immediately. You see the impact almost immediately. Crisis planning for Medicaid is another one we see almost immediate results from, because generally, if you're going to do a trust or an estate plan, you're looking at decades before you see the results of that.
Sure.
But that deathbed planning and then crisis planning for Medicaid, those 2 you see right away, whether what you did helped or not. So those are the 2 just generically that to me are impactful and really help me understand the value of what we do.
I was going to say, speaking of death, and I mean, how's your view on time and morality shifted now that you're advising people on what to do after they're gone?
Say that again. I'm not sure I understood that.
How has your view of time and morality changed over since you started this? Now that you're helping people deal with life after death.
That's a great question. I'm not sure how to answer that. Getting older sure helps you understand how short time is, and dealing with people that have deathbed issues, right? And want to plan for their short future. Kind of gives you an idea really how short time we have here. And the moral side of it is, how do we make decisions about end of life? I think maybe that's where you're going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I have that conversation with families, it's going to be a conversation about who's going to make decisions about your health care. Okay. That's the healthcare decision maker. And the documents that healthcare decision maker is going to be using are going to be a healthcare power of attorney. Okay. That's the one that says this person can make personal healthcare decisions for you, which include medications and treatments, caregivers, physicians, hospitals, and nursing homes. That's kind of the broad idea of what that healthcare decision maker is going to have power to do for you. But then there's the end of life issue. Okay. And I've gone through 4 deaths in my family over the last 4 years. My dad in 2021, my brother in 2022, my mother in 2023, my stepmother in 2024. So I've been through conversations about dying a death with family 4 years in a row. So my thought process is do everything you can to communicate to your family what's important to you if you can't make a decision about end of life. So we have what's called a declaration. It's also known as a living will that says, if I'm connected to life support and that's all that's keeping me alive, please remove it and allow me to die naturally. Had my brother had that in 2022, it would have made it, I think, a little easier for my mother to make the decision to let him go. He didn't do that. Okay. So I encourage people, number one, to have the conversation with their family. Number two, to have documents in place that express your desires. What do you want to do? You don't have to have a lawyer do that. There's a thing called the five wishes. And you can go online, search for 5 wishes, and it gives you healthcare and financial decision sheets or documents. Okay. You do not need an attorney to do that. I would encourage everyone, if they're not going to go to a lawyer, at least do that. At least put that in place, because that gives your family the ability to make those end of life decisions. Okay. So the declaration or living will says, unplug me, allow me to die naturally. The other document's going to be what's called a medical directive. And it's going to have a number of treatments and procedures that you may want to have withdrawn or withheld if it's not making a difference in your prognosis and not making you feel better. And both of these documents are only going to be useful if you can't make the decision yourself and you're dying, right? So this is just instructions to your family and physicians. This is what I want. Okay, this is how I want to be treated. Okay. The question then becomes morally, okay, when do you actually exercise that authority? And it's really not even authority. When do you exercise that instruction? When do you do that? And that's probably where your question about morality comes in. And I've had conversations with Orthodox Jews before, and it's an interesting conversation because they can't remove under the medical directive. They can't remove. But if, say, a tube is being removed for cleaning, I think don't put that back in. Okay. So that's a moral decision based on what a rabbi told my client. That's what you need to put in that instruction. If it's withdrawn, then you can refuse to have it put in. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Are there any other moral questions you were thinking of?
No,
that's an interesting. That's an interesting
very interesting
conversation. Yeah.
Are there any other cultural, things like that? Other, like you said, with them being Orthodox Jew, or they can't, say that they want to remove the life support. Is there any other cultural differences like that you've come across?
I was talking to somebody yesterday. I think it was when I was doing a panel discussion with some other people in the elder community. We were talking about what other cultures think of in terms of when somebody dies, how do you express who the heirs at law are? In Missouri, we look at heirs at law as being, for instance, your parents, and then if you have children, or children would be heirs at law, and then you move to your parents if you don't have children, and then you move to nephews and nieces, aunts and uncles, so forth, or then up to grandparents. So heirs at law in Missouri are well defined in our statute. But other cultures look at heirs at law more strictly. It may be the firstborn male. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone comes in and says, okay, we need to do a probate, maybe they say, well, we only have one heir at law and it's me. And you've already told me that he has sisters and brothers, and I'm the firstborn. In our culture, firstborn is the only heir at law. And you have to explain to them that in Missouri, that doesn't work here. So we need to express that. In fact, there are people that even in our culture, if someone has not seen mom or dad for 20 or 30 years, they've been estranged, they don't even think about the person anymore. I've got that case right now. Somebody is literally saying, we need to tell you why this person is not an heir at law. But they are, and there's nothing you can do about that unless they were adopted out of the family by someone else. That's the only way to sever that heirship, that bloodline. So that's a cultural shift we even have in the States, is that if a family member has been, again, gone for so long and estranged for so long, people forget about them, or just don't want to think about them, don't want to add them to the list of heirs at law. And we just can't do that. We have to know who those people are and present them.
And then I guess they can just award just say a $0 or whatever to that person. If
it's heirs at law and we're doing a probate, and what we'll call it an intestate probate because there's no will, then you have to use Missouri's heirs, right?
Yeah.
So you have to use that literally for distributions. So even if that person hasn't been around for 30 years, they're going to get a distribution unless they say legally, no, thank you.
Unless the person that's getting it says no, thank you.
Yeah. They can say legally, no, thank you.
Oh, really?
And then it goes back to the other heirs at law. How often do you think that happens?
Probably not
Probably
very
not
often.
very
Not very often. Not very often.
Wait, you get
But
this.
if you can't find them, if you do a due and diligent search, you can't find them, you use every possible method of finding them and you can't, that's a different situation. You say, well, okay, we couldn't find them. But at the end of the day, you still have to report that person exists and give as much information to the court as you possibly can.
Interesting. So what exactly is elder law?
Elder law is a extension of estate planning. And what it considers is, and I'll talk about the full gamut, it's a pretty wide range. It includes planning, which is what I do. It also includes litigation over abuses at nursing homes, assisted living communities. I stay in my lane. I stay in the planning lane. So for elder law, I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier when I talked about veterans planning and Medicaid planning and then Medicaid crisis. Those are all three planning methods to help people manage their health care. And one of the things Pat and I have talked about in the past, in addition to those three, is using reverse mortgages, HECMs, to help manage cash flow. Thought I'd get something in there for you. I thought I'd give you that little bit there. So for elder law, what I'm looking for are people that want to plan ahead and recognize they have a risk that what they have will be used up and won't be available for their spouse. So the way this generally works is that if you plan ahead, we can set aside cash. We can set aside a house. Now, if you got 401ks or IRAs, those are all things we wait later to plan for once you're getting ready to go into a nursing home. But if we do the planning up front for the other assets, when you get to the point where you need to apply for veterans benefits, and that has to be at least 3 years after you've done the gifting, then you can apply for those benefits. And then if you're a veteran, you get almost $25,000 a year in tax-free benefits for home care, for help with nursing home care or assisted living. If you're a spouse, you get about $18,000 tax-free. Again, it helps with cash flow. All right. And then a couple of years later, if you need to, you can get Medicaid benefits. And our Medicaid benefits are both at home, called home and community-based services. And we can also do nursing home care. Okay. So those are all things that we can help that person qualify for. And again, still have money left over to create lifestyle and dignity for a spouse staying at home. Or if it's just a single person, they can make better decisions about the community they go to because they have money that they can use to negotiate for a private pay for a period of time in a nice community, and then go into a Medicaid bed later down the road if it's needed, right? So we have a lot more options if you preserve assets versus burning them down.
Sure.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's elder law for me.
Okay.
Is helping people understand what their risk is and help them manage that risk by doing asset protection. And again, I'll work with Pat, and we'll actually use money from the house to help with cash flow, again, so we don't burn all of their other assets that we're trying to protect.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I heard, I was in the business for a few years before I heard of the concept of a reverse mortgage, and it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, I had no idea that was even possible.
Got a bad rep for a lot of years, but there's been a lot of changes to how those work, and we're not seeing it. We're getting a lot of calls about them as of late in terms of people that are just now reaching retirement age that are wanting to look into it, but most of those people don't necessarily have the required amount of equity based on where we're at in terms of interest rates right now. Because there's a whole formula and worksheet out there that shows you essentially like your age, where the rates are at, and how much equity you can use to this. For right now, most of the people that I've called, they're not able to get any draws, because you can set it up to where if you've got enough equity and you can actually get paid out per month for what it is. But right now, everything that we're seeing is basically people have enough equity in their home to eliminate just their mortgage payment, which is a cash flow, because now you're saving anywhere. One of the clients that I was talking to was going to save her roughly $2,000 a month and keep that in her pocket. Now, still responsible for taxes and insurance at the end of the year. So, it might be a couple $100 a month if they want to continue to set up their own escrow account for it. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, that can help eliminate, $1,500 to $2,000. So you're just not having to make that payment. They may not be getting cash back, but it's a way to keep money in their pocket that they already have.
And that's one of the important things we use Heckams for. Right. Is for cash flow. So I'll have a client that comes in and
you said that word twice now. Heckams?
Heckham.
Home equity.
Oh,
okay. Sorry.
Conversion mortgage.
Yep. Okay.
Heckham,
got it.
Yeah, it's just another name for reverse.
Okay. Yeah, my friend Dennis Cooper is.
He's like the reverse
mortgage
king
guy. Yeah.
He is the king. Yeah.
He is the king.
The king.
He's the only one doing them for ever here.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And he knows everybody. That's the thing about him is he's Mr. Know-it-all.
Oh yeah.
Knows everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I've met him twice. He's really nice.
Honestly,
guy.
I don't think there's probably a person in real estate or mortgage that doesn't know who he is.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anything I say to you today about reverse mortgages is coming right out of what he's told me. So it's just his brain right here.
Right here.
So the thing, Pat, that I think about for reverse mortgages is, again, my clients that have spent way too much money on a regular mortgage and now they're not able to pay for their care. What we can do is we can do that reverse mortgage and get them back $1,000 or $1,500 to help them with care and other things, so they improve their lifestyle. But there are other cooler things you can do with those reverse mortgages. So suppose you're downsizing, or you're right sizing, or you're moving to Florida, or you're moving somewhere else. You can use that reverse mortgage to buy a nicer place. You come to the table with a few dollars, and the reverse mortgage does the rest, and you don't have a house payment.
Right.
You've got cash set aside, so you've got cash flow, and you've got extra cash left over for toys.
Yeah.
Or you buy a bigger house, or if you're going to live down at the lake, you buy a lake house. Again, no mortgage.
Mhm.
You got a nice shiny boat out on your dock. So these are all things you can do with that reverse mortgage that people just don't get. They think it's for old people and to.
Well, that too is, and another one is like if inheritance, like, so you've got children that could potentially inherit the equity from your house and try to help them avoid any sort of gift tax or anything like that. You could take a reverse mortgage out if you've got the funds to do it, and you can give them the money to purchase another house.
That's one thing to do. Another thing is you can get that reverse mortgage, take the money out, put it into a nice little account somewhere for 12 months, 18 months,
Right.
and then get an insurance policy. Replace the value of the house with the insurance policy. Okay, so if you really want your house to go to the kids, don't give them the house, give them the insurance policy that replaces the value of the house. And then you play with the money that's in that account and do whatever the heck you want with it. Again, get toys or a second house or whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's just another opportunity for you to do something different and leave something for your kids.
Yep.
That isn't a house that they're not going to want anyway. That they're going to have to sell.
Right.
Right.
And they're going to call me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's okay. We can do that.
It's okay. I'm okay with that. Well, Shawn, if a 30-year-old came to you today and said, I want to build real wealth and freedom, what's a brutal truth you would tell them?
Don't get a job.
Yeah.
Do not get a job. If you get a job, unless it's a job where they pay you incredibly large amounts of money for doing almost nothing, and you can spend your time building businesses with the money you're getting from your job, a job is not the way to do it. It's really, you've got to be out there doing something, bringing value to someone else, building a business. And you guys both know that. The key to wealth is, number one, not working for somebody else. Number two, creating something of value and then having other people work with you to do that. If you're the only one doing the business, that can be a little bit limiting. So you need to build a business that can be scaled.
Sure.
What I discovered when I was building my business was when it was just me, I could make 6 figures. That's low 6 figures. As soon as I brought somebody on board to help me, I more than doubled what I was making before. The next staff member I brought on jumped it up to 3x of what I started with. So it's really it really makes sense to have other people working with you as a team to do the things you need to do to build that business, because you can't do it all yourself unless you're just really super lucky and find that one thing that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Don't count on that. Maybe along your journey, you find that one thing, but start with things that are proven money makers, businesses that are proven money makers.
Yeah. I mean, you rarely see anything where it's just one guy doing something that becomes extremely successful, as far as building a business, it's like all the great businesses that, like you said, scale and do something on a grand scale. It's always more people are involved. It's not just one guy.
And the other key is to get into a group of people or find a group of people that you can count on, that you can work with. They may not even be in the same business you're in or the same area you're in, but work with people that listen to you and that you can learn things from, like you guys. I learn from you guys. Hopefully, you learn from me.
Learn from you for sure.
And make sure you got a Rolodex full of people that you can help other people use. And so one of the beautiful things about an estate planning attorney or elder law attorney is that if somebody has a need for something, somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I need to move mom, and I don't know who to call." Don't worry, I know who to call. Let me get you connected. So if you have that Rolodex of people, I know most people don't know what a Rolodex is if they're doing this, but a Rolodex.
I use that term and I've never even seen one. So
I still have paper cuts for mine. So at the end of the day, it's about who you know. It really is. The one thing that makes Dennis Cooper so effective is that he does know people. He knows a guy, he knows a gal. And if you ask him, do you know somebody? He's going to say, yeah, I do know somebody. That's what makes Dennis so valuable. That's what makes us so valuable as part of our AU team here, is that we know a guy, we know a gal, we know people that can help you. And that's the real power of a business, is getting to know who does what and why. Okay. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Absolutely.
100%.
So that's huge. So if you're, again, it's part of not being one person doing it.
This
Right?
goes back to that whole saying, your network is your net worth.
I think that's true. I've not heard that, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
that sounds like a truism. So yeah,
Oh, 100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a big value in being a connector of people, I
Mhm.
think, and that's something I do a lot. I've got a phone. I mean, I was actually we were comparing how many contacts we have in our phones the other day, like me and all my neighbors. And it was like, yeah, I've got a couple hundred. I look at mine, I've got like over 2,000 numbers in my phone. And I'm like, holy cow, how do I have so many numbers? But I'm like, doing real estate and all the other stuff I did before real estate. And I've just never deleted any contacts. I've got a guy for
Mhm.
a few guys for just about everything. It seems, if you
Right.
need a plumber, you need an electrician, you need a moving company, you need a cleaning service, you need whatever, it's like, I've got 5 of everybody, and it's very convenient. And the way I've kind of set it up in my phone, if I you can put the first name, last name, and then the little description. So it's like, I always fill in that description thing so that when, I can just type in the search estate planning attorney or cleaning company or whatever. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
boom, I've got 5 contacts right there.
That's incredibly powerful. And that's, and I think for a new business owner, make sure you have as many people that can do something for someone else as you can, and ask, who can I help you with? What can I do for you? Because that's really the piece that most business owners eventually get. But if you start out getting that, then that's incredibly powerful.
Right.
So you're not networking to find people to give to you. You're networking to find people to connect with someone that needs that person.
The
Make
good old
sense?
BNI
100%.
adage, givers gain.
Giver's gain. Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew that was coming, didn't you, Pat?
Didn't.
Saw that train
Are
come
you guys
right
in the
down
same
the
one?
tracks.
We're in this, yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a handful of us up here that were at some point all part of the same BNI group. That's how we're all got connected.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, what would be some advice in terms of for people, especially younger people, in terms of getting a trust set up?
Well, first, instead of thinking about a trust, think about what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Again, you've got a number of different opportunities, in the mortgage world, right? And you've got a number of different options for real estate. Do you want to rent? Do you want to buy? You want 2-story, you want 1-story, you want
Do you want a duplex? Do you want a floor plan?
duplex.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want? So to me, the most important thing for people to understand is, what do you want as a young person? So as a young person, you want to make sure that if something happens to you, the people that are your decision makers, healthcare and financial decision makers, can make decisions for you instead of having a court get into the process.
I was going to say, if you could give 5 questions, it's like you need to answer these 5 questions before you set up a trust. What would those 5 questions be? Like for me, like, hey, Pat, you're wanting to set up a trust. Answer these 5 questions first before you go and set one up.
If something happened, you become incapacitated. Do you have instructions that will tell someone what to do?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
So fail number 1. Number 2, if something happened to you and your ex-wife, do you know what would happen with your children? Who would take care of them? Do you have instructions?
Yes.
Okay. You got that one right. If something happened just to you, do you have instructions in place that make sure that your boys are taken care of with your legacy, with your money, and that it's protected?
Yes.
And then, okay. Then that's number 2 that you got right. So I don't know that there are 5.
Okay.
But again, do you have people that can make those decisions?
No.
Okay. And sometimes the answer is no, or sometimes the answer is I don't know, or sometimes that's a hard one because everybody I know is out of town. So those are 4 good questions. Do you know who's going to make decisions if you become incapacitated? Who makes decisions if you pass away? Who takes care of your kids? What happens to your money?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the important things to answer. Okay. And if you can answer all those things, I know who's going to make decisions for me. If I'm incapacitated, I know who's going to take care of my stuff if I die, and who's going to take care of my kids. Then those 3 questions, if you've answered those, then you're in great shape. If you haven't, then you need to think about it again. The next questions are really going to be, do you want your money protected or do you not? Okay.
Who says no to that one?
You would be surprised. You'd be surprised. There are people that say, I trust my kids and I think it's fine and they're going to be great. And I say, okay, great. How about their spouses? How about the person down the road that they accidentally run into? How about the person that wants to sue them just because? And it happens.
Sure.
Okay. Do you trust them? Well, no. Then you may want to protect your legacy. Make sure it goes to your family. And it's a little bit different conversation. And again, they say, I didn't realize you could do that. Well, that's why you came to me.
Yeah.
And you came to me for a plan, not for a set of documents. Right?
Well, Shawn, this has been incredible having you in here today.
Yes.
It's been a blast.
Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, or is there?
You got your new podcast coming out.
Oh wait,
Oh, yeah,
we do have a couple things. I forgot. There was one we wanted to talk about some new things you were doing. You have something new going on?
The Exit Planning Institute.
Yes,
Oh yeah, there you go. So part of my process has been working with business owners to try and help them manage transition from being a business owner to exiting. And that's usually things like buy-sell agreements, things like that. On my list of things to do has been to become a certified exit planning advisor. Because when you are part of a team, not just the estate planner, not just the financial advisor, not just whoever, but you're part of a team that does that transition, becomes a much more powerful process for the business owner. They don't just sign a bunch of documents and wonder what they did. It's a continuing plan from discovery through checking and making sure you're ready to leave or transition, whatever that might be. And when I saw that process, I thought I need to get involved in that. Because as I said, as the estate planning piece, I felt like there were pieces missing, not having that team approach to managing that client and what they needed. So what the Exit Planning Institute teaches you as a CEPA is to look at it from 3 perspectives. Personal planning. Are you ready to leave your business? Are you ready to transition? 70% of business owners, when they actually sell their business and leave, are like, what do I do now? What's the next thing? Okay. Now they're way out of balance because they had a work-life balance. Now they just have a
life.
Okay. Where's the work part? Where's the replacement for the work? Because, as business owners, you guys both know that there's a certain level of adrenaline that comes with,
For sure.
with managing the business. And then all of a sudden, 7 days of golf isn't giving you the same rush as walking into the shop and seeing,
having problems thrown at you, or whatever,
problem solving and seeing smoke off the machines, as tooling is creating whatever it was you were doing. So that's the personal side that really needs to be incorporated into the transition or the sale. The next thing is personal financial, because we don't always, as business owners, do a very good job of personal financial management. Okay. We do well with our business, but we don't have both of those pieces, the business financial and the personal financial, really under control. Okay. And again, that's part of the exit planning process, is analyzing each of those pieces and then helping that business owner walk through that piece, each of those pieces, and improve them. And we do what's called value acceleration. We want to accelerate value of the company so that when you do decide to transition, you are ready. Your business is ready, you're personally ready, and you're financially ready. So all 3 of those need to be aligned so that when you leave the business, you're ready to leave the business, you're financially ready to leave the business, and the business is ready for you to leave. Okay. And again, to me, that just struck me as the complete process for managing. I mean, it's very easy to leave a business. Okay. I was talking to a friend of mine, Dwight. He's a banker out in St. Peter's, and he's had several clients that have left their businesses, but they had to leave for healthcare reasons and not because they were ready. So you really need to start this process sooner,
Yeah.
3 to 5 years ahead of when you feel like you want to transition and leave.
So essentially, it's an estate plan for your business.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a process for transitioning your business and being happy about it.
Right.
You know, if you walk out and you're not happy about it, what was the purpose? What was the point of doing that? Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's why I got involved in that. So,
I mean, it seems right up your alley, man.
yeah,
You know?
it sort of is. And what's funny is that Larry Weiss, you know Larry, he and I just started talking last year about this, and he said, "Yeah, you're going to be a SEPA." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to take the test probably in September, October, blah blah blah." He said, "Well, that's great. We should talk to my friend Jared and see what he's doing because he's a SEPA too, and see if there's some things we can do." We're just about a year after that initial conversation that Larry and I had, and from that, Larry, Jared, and I really started the Exit Planning Institute chapter here in St. Louis, along with 5 other board members. We're going to have our kickoff in August. So from just that small conversation between the 3 of us, and now we've gone from this might be a great idea to, okay, let's do this thing. Let's get the national group involved in this. Let's we've got a curriculum set up for the next year, and we're rolling. Just getting this thing put in place for business owners here in St. Louis. And our goal is to have all the resources that they need. Again, this gets back to having all the right people in your Rolodex. So if somebody needs something, we know who that person is and who to call. And that's all this is about, is making sure business owners in St. Louis have a better solution than just here and here and here. We want everybody to be in the same room talking, having the same conversation, talking the same language.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It should be pretty powerful. I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really
That would be exciting.
I heard I was doing a podcast too.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I like cooking for my wife, Donna. And one of my favorite dishes to cook for is called Chardonnay chicken. And I thought, I should probably just do a one-off podcast and have some fun and cook some Chardonnay chicken and see, how it works. So
He's the real reason we're getting a new kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think there are quite a few other chefs in the house. So I did it.
Yeah.
And I've decided that I'm going to do a couple more. This coming weekend, we're going to be at Chandler Hill. We're going to do the Barrel Room Experience.
Okay.
Cool.
The sommelier out there, Scott LaChance, is going to do the podcast with me beforehand. So we'll talk about what a sommelier does, what kind of wines.
That'll be really interesting.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
You can come out if you want to.
Okay. When is it this weekend?
This weekend. Yeah, it's from 11 to whenever we're done.
Okay.
So the wine
Which
runs out.
So, yeah.
maybe 5 o'clock. It oftentimes is.
Make sure I don't fall down any hills.
There's plenty of hills to fall.
Yes, there are.
So, yeah, and that's going to be the experience. So my thought process is I'm going to have a cooking show and then I'm going to have an experience. So this month, the cooking show was at Slyman Brothers off Manchester, and I did the Chardonnay chicken. And then the experience is going to be Chandler Hill's Barrel Room experience, and then lunch. Oh. And then next month, we're going to have a barbecue. I'm going to create, what is it? Pork belly, burned ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds really
I
good.
made those a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites.
Last year I did that.
Yeah.
I love
You might have
those.
had those.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to do those out at the what is that? Shane's place. Shane's place.
The landing hub.
Landing hub, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that at the landing hub. And then for the experience, we're actually going to go right down the street to their cigar vault.
Oh, fun.
So
Cool.
we'll do the cooking out there at the landing hub, and then we'll do all the eating and drinking out at the
Cigar vault.
Oh,
man,
so I
that'll
think
be
there will be some people smoking.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's going to be the cooking and the experience in one shoot in one day.
That's fun.
So we'll see how that works. That should be kind of different.
Yeah.
You gonna do an episode on making your famous Manhattans?
Somebody could probably talk me into doing that.
Yeah.
And then what we'd have to do is go to one of the
Distilleries.
Yeah, I know a guy that's a part owner in one of the places down, and I think it's close.
I'll have to let you know. So the reason I have the Pappy's, the original Sin, that barrel there, and that painting is because I won an auction item at the Ben Polson Foundation, and part of
Nice.
that was a 20-person whiskey tasting at the distillery that made the bourbon there. So like the Cardinal Sin is the distillery in St. Charles. So I got like a 20-person whiskey tasting out there that
Ooh.
we're gonna take
Yeah.
talk to a bunch of people up here at AU and get them up there.
Do they do just bourbon, or do they do some rye?
I think they do at whatever we want, however we want it. I just was emailing with the owners the other
They
day.
can do a cask strength rye for me.
Okay.
We'll pop that into a barrel with some choice sweet vermouth, and
Okay.
30 days later, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
that'll be our cooking
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
experience.
Yeah, I love it. I'm in.
So,
All right.
well, awesome.
Well, Sean, before we get you out of here, we always end the show the same way.
Yep. We call it the Tombstone Game. Here lies Shawn. What does it say on your tombstone?
Wow, that's interesting. He was a great grandpa.
Perfect.
I
Great.
think that'd be pretty awesome.
Hey, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Love it.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Love it. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yes.
And thank you to all of our listeners at home. If you could click that subscribe button for us, that would help us out a ton. Click that like button as well. Comment what you thought below, and we will see you next time.